Prime Minister Modi said once again that the Indian armed forces have been given the full right to launch an attack at a time and place of their choosing. Meanwhile, a diplomatic offensive has already been launched. Multiple envoys of countries from West Asia, the Middle East being called in to Raisina Hills, meeting senior Indian diplomats and being told to put out statements condemning the terror emanating from Pakistan and standing with India at a time when Indian soil has been attacked by Pakistan-based terrorists. Apart from this, very interestingly, the American National Security Advisor calling the Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval twice over in the last 24 hours, saying America stands with India and will back action against the Pak-based sponsors of terror. Take a look at the global diplomatic offensive launched by the Indian External Affairs Ministry.
India's strike back against terrorism will not be limited to just military options. New Delhi has launched a mega offensive to corner Pakistan, one of the world's biggest sponsors of terror. Since Thursday, when a suicide bomber rammed a CRPF convoy killing 40 Jawans, External Affairs officials have been burning the midnight oil, reaching out to all corners of the world to expose Pakistan.
We meet tonight.
The strongest reaction has come from the United States. The Donald Trump administration mincing no words and hauling up Pakistan for its failure to crack the whip on homegrown terror. On Saturday, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held a telephonic conversation with his US counterpart John Bolton, who said that the US supports India's right to self-defense. The two national security advisors also pledged to work together to remove the hurdles in designating Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar as a global terrorist. The Foreign Ministry meanwhile has held talks with envoys from West Asia, a region whose support Pakistan banks on. The sore spot though remains China. Beijing has condemned the attacks but is silent on Jaish-e-Mohammed and its leader Masood Azhar. China has blocked India's move to blacklist Azhar thrice in the past. Beijing claims that there is no consensus on Jaish-e-Mohammed's involvement in the attacks.
India's diplomatic offensive has been met with positive response. United States of America has come out and endorsed India's right to self-defense, but China continues to remain a problem. Masood Azhar's designation will never happen till China continues to block India. This even as India is going to fight a tough battle in trying to get Pakistan blacklisted at the FATF and the European Commission. In New Delhi, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
General Vinod Bhatia has been Director General Military Operations. It is the DGMO who is responsible for planning and executing the attack on a moment-by-moment basis. It's he who is in touch with the boys on the ground, trying to determine how the operation is going. Welcome, sir. Shazia Ilmi of the Bharatiya Janata Party joins us. Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain has been in charge of the Kashmir Corps, 15 Corps. He's joining us on this broadcast as well as Sushant Sareen from the Observer Research Foundation. So welcome to all our guests. I want to look at the global offensive against Pakistan, General Hasnain, and the impact that you think this will have, the role that diplomacy has to play. The Prime Minister making very clear the army will strike. He said so openly and he said so categorically. What role do you believe this diplomatic offensive will have? In the meanwhile, what are we hoping to achieve here, sir?
Rahul, as far as military options are concerned, obviously it's going to take time. It's going to take a time to build up anything, if at all it has to be done. But a diplomatic offensive can become energetic overnight. And that's exactly what is happening in this case, where the Ministry of External Affairs, as rightly brought out, is already burning the midnight oil. It's the important capitals of the world where the sensitization by our high commissions and by our different embassies has to be done. It's the various think tanks around the world, the very important and influential think tanks in cities like London, New York and Washington, where a number of our strategic thinkers and analysts should be speaking at this time. Unfortunately, I think this is one place where we are slightly weak. We do not have a presence as large as that of Pakistan. But as far as the diplomatic activity in India is concerned, in New Delhi is concerned, I think the Ministry of External Affairs has already taken the bull by its horns. A lot of diplomatic briefings to the various ambassadors is already taking place. We have to, the problem is that countries which do not want to believe, at least diplomatically do not want to believe, will always want evidence to be presented before them. The prime example is China, which you know is holding off on Maulana Azhar Masood for a fairly long time. And the only manner in which it can get away is that it finds that there is no consensus on the Jaish being involved in terrorist activities in India. It has been able to stave off this entire offensive by India at the United Nations, and even the weight of the United States has not been able to move it. So this is something which is of concern for us. We need
but
to be
Bharti,
very
the fact is
energetic
this
on
is
this.
a time when
And the
Pakistan
FATF meeting
is
tomorrow is going to
virtually
be
not
a
as
very
dependent
important
on
meeting.
the United States as it once was. The United States is already pulling out. It's far more dependent on China and Saudi Arabia. We've seen the American National Security Advisor say very clearly that he'll back action against India, against Pakistan by India. At this time, what role do you believe the diplomatic offensive can play?
No, diplomatic offensive is essential. It's an essential element of national power. And there's a need to isolate Pakistan. Pakistan is the hotbed for terror. It's the whatever you may say. Going back a little on the diplomatic offensive, post-surgical strikes, one of the things which was said by Mr. Nawaz Sharif, the then elected Prime Minister, to the then Chief Rahil Sharif, who was a poster boy, and he was retired after 2 months to become a field marshal and all that. And he said, you have isolated Pakistan. So that is the power of India. And today we have the soft power, we have the diplomatic power. The need is to isolate Pakistan diplomatically, to hurt him economically, and to take action militarily.
Okay, we've got some images coming in of Vayu Shakti, an air exercise being carried out at this time. We'll hope to have them out in just a moment. But Shazia Ilmi, the role of the diplomatic offensive and the fact that we're actually calling on countries to come out in our support. Some 48 countries have spoken, the others that haven't. The Foreign Secretary reached out to those envoys and said, statement loud, support us, we need your support.
Well, absolutely. And one cannot really undermine the importance of a global diplomatic offense, literal intervention rather, I would call it at this point of time. Because if not now, then when? But I think more importantly, while we're working diplomatically and we're looking at, of course, inshallah, military offensive soon, and I think all of us are hoping for that. I think overall, the nature of public discourse in India also, the talk that is carried out by the peaceniks, that also must stop. After what has happened, I think there has to be less and less scope for anything else but zero tolerance and zero mercy. And we have to be far less compromising
John
than
Bolton
we have
has
been
just
so
put
far.
out a statement, and I want to read out just a few moments before now what he says. This is the American National Security Advisor. Those are images from Vayu Shakti, the air exercise. I expressed condolences to the NSA Doval yesterday for the reprehensible terrorist attack on India. Pakistan must crack down on Jaish-e-Mohammed and all terrorists operating from its territory. Countries should uphold United Nations Security Council responsibilities to deny safe haven and support to terrorists. Sushant Sareen, the language from Pakistan is clear. We're seeing the Indian Air Force in full glory, pounding away with precision on targets which have been shortlisted for this air exercise. It's a very powerful message and a very powerful video coming out at this time as well. And now you've got Bolton, the US NSA, saying Pakistan must crack down on the Jaish-e-Mohammed and terrorists operating from its territory. This is like music to India's ears.
Yeah, but Rahul, let's get a little real. See, there are a couple of things. I have nothing against a diplomatic offensive, but with what purpose? If the purpose of the diplomatic offensive is to get statements, pro forma condemnatory statements that what has happened in Pulwama is very bad, should not happen, the perpetrator should be brought to justice, the sort of namby-pamby statements which many of the countries have issued, I don't see how that helps our cause. Even somebody naming and shaming Pakistan, for example, the Americans have been far more forthright than anyone else, is fine. But how does that solve our problem? People have been telling Pakistan for decades now that they need to get their act together, that they need to clean up, the kind of nonsense which is happening in that country, and yet nothing has happened. So I think we need to be realistic on how far we can go with this, unless, of course, the diplomatic offensive is not just about getting these statements, but also putting in place some kind of regime to penalize the Pakistanis. Then I would say that yes, the diplomatic offensive is successful, but yes, even if we plan to take certain actions and the diplomatic offensive is going to prepare the ground for that, I think there is something to be said for it. But on the American thing, I think the Trump administration's position has been very clear. Even the last time when something happened, the Trump administration was very clear that India needs to do what it needs to do. The question then is, will India do what it needs to do? I would imagine that that is what the mood in the government is. Of course, they will take their time. They will wait for the right opportunity. They will weigh, every step which they're going to take. They're not going to do anything in a knee-jerk manner. But my problem now is that we knew that these kind of attacks would come. We knew that Pakistan would do this. Should we not have already prepared a menu of options that every time something like this happened, there would be a kind of a tripwire, and all that you needed to do was to choose which of the options you are going to exercise, and retaliation would be immediate and overwhelming. Perhaps that is a state of affairs we need to start working towards. But for now, I think we'll just have to bide our time before some kind of action is taken.
I just want to describe and show to our viewers these images coming from Pokhran, from the firing ranges in Pokhran, from the desert of Rajasthan, the Indian Air Force in all its might. They're picking out targets and they're taking them down. This was a pre-scheduled exercise, General Bhatia, but the timing is very, very significant. Can we pick up some audio from here? Let's try if we can. But the timing is very, very significant and the imaging very powerful, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the pre-scheduled exercise, but that doesn't take away the military might which we are displaying out there, demonstrating out there. And Pakistan should take note of this, because what Pakistan is actually doing is, they're carrying on this, as I call, the low-cost, high-effect war. And they should understand that there's a limit to it. It is finite. It cannot be infinite. It has been going for 3 decades. And
Shiv Arur joins us. Shiv, this is a very nicely produced video that's coming. It's a live video. They first show you what they will target. They will tell you what fighter aircraft is at play, and then they go and show the precision with which that target is taken down. And the timing is very, very powerful. The timing is very, very symbolic. Just at a time when the air option is also one of the options being considered. They're giving you an exact sense of the capabilities of the Indian Air Force, Shiv.
Absolutely, very, very compelling images coming from the western sector, specifically over Pokhran at this time, Rahul, as the Indian Air Force's entire combat strength is deployed there. Very coincidental that it's happening on a day like this, but also hugely ironic because, this very compelling show of strength, it's a firepower demonstration where thousands of pounds of bombs and missiles, are being dropped just about 270 kilometers from Bahawalpur in Pakistan, where the Jaish-e-Mohammed has its headquarters. Rahul, many in the public who are watching these images, will perhaps justifiably be wondering, what is the point of all this firepower demonstration if you never actually utilize this against India's adversaries? And is there really a better time than now to actually utilize air power? Now, we do have information that airstrikes have been presented as an option to the government. The Indian Air Force chief, who's sitting there in those pictures in Pokhran, personally presented these options to the government. Nirmala Sitharaman was supposed to be there in Pokhran today, but she had to cancel those because she needed to be in Tamil Nadu, for the last rites of some of those CRPF soldiers. But these images of the actual precision strikes, Rahul, are going to be very compelling, but there are going to be questions that need to be answered about whether India has the political will to move beyond just demonstrating and actually utilizing these aircraft.
The Vayu Shakti exercise is conducted once every 3 years. This is where the full might of the Indian Air Force is at play. This is happening right now. You're seeing these live images from fighter aircraft to transport aircrafts, helicopters, force enablers, support systems. It started out basic with the MiG-21 Bison, then we had the MiG-29s at play, then the most sophisticated Sukhoi 30 MKI fighter aircraft was used. then the Mirage 2000, the MiG-29s in play as well, and then some of the helicopters, the attack gunships. Mi-17s were at play, the Hawk training advanced trainer was at play, the MiG-27 was also there, the Tejas, the light combat aircraft, the Jaguars used as well, the Illusion transport aircraft, the Mi-31, the Rudra, the HAL Rudra, and Akash, the mid-range surface-to-air missile. All of this happening live. The Vayu Shakti air-powered demonstration in the Pokhran firing ranges. Sushant Sareen, the timing could not have been more symbolic. Just at a time when this option is being looked at so seriously, you've got the Indian Air Force in all its glory, in all its might, demonstrating its muscle.
Such technological breakthroughs shall be crucial for the Indian Air Force to implement.
Yeah, but again, let's get real. This was not an exercise which has been decided over the last 2 days. This was something which would have been on the anvil for months. The Pakistanis would probably have been informed as well, because these kind of exercises at this scale, when they happen so close to the border, I think the other side is also kept informed. I can't be sure of that, but normally something like this does happen. So not that this would have come as a surprise. And the Pakistanis, because this exercise was going to be happening so close to the border, many of their air defense systems and their AVOCs and others would have already, been flying around, because they would also be observing the exercise in their own way. So I don't think there's really an element of surprise, nor do I think that the Pakistanis are going to be overly impressed by this demonstration of force. I think ultimately, if you have to impress the Pakistanis with a demonstration of force, then you have to execute a force on some of their assets. I don't know what the plans of the government and the armed forces are, but I am of the view that until and unless you can carry the fight to the Pakistanis, I'm afraid we can thump our own chests, but it's not really going to make the Pakistanis actually start doing what they need to do.
Okay, can I for a moment listen to the audio coming in from the Vayu Shakti? There is commentary happening there as well. Now you're seeing a helicopter gunship in action.
Zeroing in onto the coordinates, you shall shortly hear the attack helicopters approaching us from behind the grandstand. And here they come from the left and right edge of the grandstand, ready to open up their 20mm turret guns. Please notice that while the aircraft nose would point straight, the guns would turn by 30 degrees or more to fire at the enemy at the field straight ahead, demonstrating the off-board sight capability of this aircraft. Did you hear the gunfire? The helicopters are strafing the area. The deadly burst of 20mm rounds are neutralizing the enemy on the ground.
Joining us on India Today at this time, Fawad Chaudhry, Minister of Information and Broadcasting
an SHBO mission approaching our battlefield
in the government of Pakistan. And we're seeing these live images from the Vayu Shakti exercise as well. Let's just listen for a moment to this live commentary.
Nap of the earth, just a few feet above the sand dunes. The mission aims to show you how special forces are inserted into the enemy territory by helicopters. The SHBO is escorted by a pair of heavily armed ALH Mark IV or Rudra helicopters. Behind them, you will see a Mi-17 V5 helicopter of the Indian Air Force. The Mi-17s are capable of undertaking deployment of commandos and troops by night, even in starlit night conditions, with pilots wearing night vision goggles. The ALH Mark IVs set up a protective combat air patrol or CAP over the area. They shall be continuously scanning the area visually as well as with the help of cameras and pods. Armed with 20mm guns, the aircraft are ever ready to neutralize any enemy interference like you just saw in the previous mission. see the Mi-17 V5 approaching the drop zone. After evaluating the nature of the ground and obstructions around, the pilot opts to deploy the special forces from a low hover jump.
Ladies and gentlemen, notice the helicopter as the pilot, using his superior skills, is making a deliberate approach to establish a pinpoint hover on the landing spot. The helicopter stabilizes in a low hover, just inches above the ground. The commandos swiftly jump out of the aircraft, quickly moving to the sides to take defensive positions. Notice how Garud commandos take control of the landing area and scan for any threats. Ladies and gentlemen, in no time the entire squad in vicinity of the enemy radar. Helicopter departs at low level to avoid any detection by the enemy. The Garuds, meanwhile, are forming up in a tactical squad and proceeding to the target area.
While this team makes its way to the target, let us showcase to you another SHBO for which our special forces and helicopter pilots regularly train. You might recall the 26/11 dastardly attacks in Mumbai, during which a helicopter was used to slither commandos onto a rooftop. Now here you can see a Mi-17 V5 with Garud special forces on board to demonstrate how they can deploy troops on any tall building in our cities and neutralize terrorists hiding inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please look to your right. The small two-storied white building depicts a high-rise in any one of our cities where a few terrorists have holed up, holding civilian hostage. The helicopter comes to hover over the roof. The flight gunner has released the rope from the helicopter and Garuds start to slither down from the roof. Ladies and gentlemen, to slither down from the helicopter, the Garud commandos are equipped with special mittens to avoid blistering of hands. Notice that Garud commandos are not secured by any safety lines and they have to rely entirely on training and strength of their arms. Watch now as two Garud descend through power ascenders to place explosive charges on the windows. Notice how quietly the Garud commandos have lowered themselves down and are placing the charges on the windows. And as quietly, they are sent back to the roof. Notice the daredevilry and the superhuman training, as now the assault party of 4 troops of Garud Special Forces rappel down to neutralize the unsuspecting terrorists. Reaching above the windows, they pause. Detonating the charges, the Garud swing in through the shattered windows. The terrorists holed up inside are caught by surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, all the terrorists have been neutralized.
Meanwhile, the second team can be seen approaching a door in the adjacent building. You can now see the demolition expert place a breaching explosive charge on the door. The Garuds now enter the building. They have cornered the terrorists. The elite Garud commandos have neutralized the terrorists. Mission over. The two teams form up and withdraw along with the rescued hostage.
Meanwhile, our first team of Garud Special Forces has located the enemy radar and is now approaching their objective. 4 buddy pairs had established a support fire base at an advantageous height, some distance away from the radar. The main assault party can be seen moving silently in tactical formation towards the target. Demolition experts in the team fix charges on the radar. The rest of the team maintains eye on the surroundings. Charges planted, the team quietly withdraws and makes its way for the pre-planned extrication point. Enemy not suspecting a thing. The radar is put out of action, creating the vital blind corridor that a fighter
Joining
missions
us now
require in
live
this
on India
area.
Today as we're watching this live firepower demonstration from Pokhran. We've got Fawad Chaudhry, Information and Broadcasting Minister in the government of Pakistan. Mr. Chaudhry, welcome. Can you hear me, sir?
War demands concentration of force.
Thank you.
And at the right place.
Mr. Chaudhry, I want to understand from you the official response of the government of Pakistan. Your Prime Minister Imran Khan so far hasn't said anything about the terror attacks himself. The government has put out a statement but not said anything about Jaish involvement. Sitting where you are as the lead spokesperson of the Imran Khan government, what can you tell our viewers on India Today, sir?
Well, our views are very clear. We condemn the terrorism incidents everywhere in the world, and so is Pulwama. We think this is a sad incident. Should never have happened. Very unfortunate, and we believe that it is important that the both. If you need Pakistan's assistance, we will be more than happy to give that. Normalization with India is one of the key policy of our government, and we want normalization of relationship because this is important for India, this is important for Pakistan, and this is important for the rest of the region.
American National Security Advisor has put out a statement just a short while before now on his Twitter handle. I'll take you through what he says. He's asking for Pakistan to clamp down on terror emanating from Pakistani soil and take action against the Jaish-e-Mohammed. Can you tell us if your government intends to take any action against the Jaish-e-Mohammed, sir?
Jaish-e-Mohammed is a banned organization. It's a banned organization since long, and we are actually already taking a huge action. We are already bound by the demand of setup. We are already bound by the and we are the country that has suffered the terrorism for the most. And secondly, we are taking action within, and we will take action whatever is needed.
What action do you intend to take? I want to show you images that we've picked up through open source satellite techniques from Bhavalpur, where a sprawling campus of the Jaish-e-Mohammed is coming up now under your government's watch, 8 kilometers away from a Pak Army Corps headquarters. So this is happening right now through satellite imagery. We've been able to pick it up, sir. It's happening in your watch, on your watch, in Pakistan at this moment, sir.
Well, frankly, there are 50 organizations that call itself Jaish, and there are the buildings that where we have many buildings. I mean, I don't know how can you say that any building you can show and say that this is actually the Jaish headquarters. Actually, the thing is that Pakistan and India, especially the leadership of both places, there is the responsibility of leadership to show that we want basically solution of the problems. The problem is that primarily after this incident, what India is doing, it's not looking inward. It is just trying to shift the blame. That is the problem. We will never be able to solve issues if we don't seriously look into the real problem. The problem is that in Kashmir, if you see, more than 100 children in this area only have been killed. Kashmir is a highly militarized zone where on every 10 Kashmiris you have one Indian army soldier. With this kind of environment, you will never be able to get peace. And you will never be able to get peace if you shift everything on Pakistan without looking inward. I know there is a section in the political leadership of India that believes that warmongering will help them in elections, and they are trying to do that. But believe me, this will not help India. This will not help Pakistan. This will not help people of this region.
Sir, karoge kya? Ye to batao. Jaish-e-Mohammed is flourishing in Pakistan at this time. They're building new complexes, new compounds. Do you intend to take any action against them?
This is absolutely untrue. All the organizations who are under watch have been, their activities have been clamped. We are taking up very, very serious actions against even extremists. Even recently we have seen a very, very strong action against extremist organizations in Pakistan. We have already done that. But I mean, again, I'm saying that we are more than happy to assist India in any investigation, whatever assistance they need from us. But if you put everything on Pakistan and don't look inward, it won't resolve your problem. As Ranjit Roy said that earlier it was India who was occupying Kashmir. Now it's the Kashmir narrative that is occupying India. So at least कम से कम अपना भी थोड़ा सोचें, अपने गिरेबान में झांके जैसे कहते हैं उर्दू में. So it's not really helpful to put everything on Pakistan and get away with it.
No, sir. Sir, the Jaish-e-Mohammed has claimed responsibility for this attack. It's not something they're seeking to deny or dispute. They have come out and accepted that they're responsible. A video has been put out as well by the terrorists who carried this out. We've got the exact image and information about the Afghan IED expert who was sent by Maulana Masood Azhar to execute this attack. This is not something being denied. On the 9th of February, we have images from Pakistan of a rally that Maulana Masood Azhar carried out in Pakistan. You are saying he's banned. What kind of a ban is this, Minister?
Well, frankly, if you want to get into the merits of the case, there is a vehicle use. The carried incident has happened 130 kilometers inside Indian occupied Kashmir. So the vehicle use has obviously not been transported from Pakistan. There is 160 kilogram of explosive that has been used. That is obviously not transported from Pakistan. The boy who did it is a local Kashmiri. Now, you tell me that is there a need to look inward, or you just say that everything put on Pakistan and Masood Azhar and so and so. There are about 65 Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now everyone says we are Jaish with plan, Jaish so and so and Jaish so and so. It is not like that. Unless you don't look inward and just, the Indian, especially this, the leadership, Indian leadership, political leadership. If they would, for example, I was actually surprised that Prime Minister Modi has not cancelled one single Jalsa or public gathering after this incident. He is actually going in Jalsa and asking for votes that see this has happened and give me votes. So this, I'm actually quite, it's the mindset that is a problem. This is very, very unfortunate, if you say.
Suggesting, Mr. Fawad Chaudhry, that the Prime Minister is trying to use the Pulwama attack for his political benefit. Is that the charge that you're levelling, Minister?
This is actually the sense that is coming in from India, that it's more of a political situation in India that is leading to this warmongering. And the serious solution would have been that Indian administration would have asked Pakistan that here is the evidence. We believe there are issues and we need your cooperation and there should be investigation into it, and we would have done that. But the way you blamed everything on Pakistan and trying to get away with it and not looking inward, obviously that will be only the plausible solution that can be offered.
It's not about looking inward. The Jaish-e-Mohammed has accepted responsibility. They're not denying it. The building on our screen right now is the new Jaish compound that's coming out, and the Indian Prime Minister has declared, and I want your views on that, very publicly, not once, not twice, but thrice in 24 hours, that the might of the Indian army is going to take down the perpetrators of the Pulwama attack, that the Indian army has been given a free hand to attack at a time and place of its choosing, Minister.
I said, can you deny that the vehicle used was basically a local vehicle used in India? Can you deny that the explosive is a local thing, not transported from Pakistan? Can you deny that the boy who did it is a local Kashmiri and has no links with Pakistan? If you cannot deny that, then also don't deny that there is an internal problem. There is a problem that India needs to really think of. It is not that you will just say that so and so help them, so and so mindset, so and so. Problems are always can be solved when you first recognize there is a problem. The problem with the Indian hierarchy right now is you are not recognizing there is a problem. If we won't recognize, it will continue. It will continue. It is continuing from 70 years. It will further continue. I would say that the Kashmiri leadership, no one from Kashmiri leadership is related with Pakistan.
It seems to me that you're either in denial or you have no sense of what's coming. The Indian Prime Minister has declared publicly that we will take military revenge. We are coming for the terrorists, and he intends to get this done. He has staked his political prestige and capital on taking down the perpetrators of Pulwama. And you're talking in a vacuum, almost as if this attack didn't happen, as if India isn't angry and these 40 boys of the CRPF didn't die, sir.
Well, everyone is angry. It's not only about the Indians. The Terrorism Act is something that everyone has condemned, and so is Pakistan. But the problem is that what we feel that there is a section in Indian political leadership who wants to use this incident for their political gains. Here is the problem. If for you, people's lives are not important and your election is more important than that, this is a problem. And the warmongering that is going on in Indian channels and Indian media, that is a problem. So just look at what we have done. The day we won election, the next day Prime Minister Imran Khan came on the television and said if India takes one step, we will take two steps. No cooperation from India. We opened Kartarpur. No cooperation from India. We wrote a letter that come and sit and talk with us. No cooperation from your.
You've done about terror. Everything else is fine. The Kartarpur corridor is all good for a peacetime. What have you done against terror? From Maulana Masood Azhar to Sayyid Salahuddin to Lashkar-e-Taiba Chief Hafiz Saeed, they're all walking free, flourishing in your supposed Naya Pakistan, sir.
Well, on the list of terrorism, we have Kulbhushan Yadav also. This is what we wanted to discuss. We want to sit with India and say that, okay, come on, let's talk of terror. Let's talk of terror in Balochistan. Let's talk of terror on the Pakistan border. Let's talk of terror even in India. We have no problem with that. We are ready to talk about that. But, if you believe that war is the only solution and there is no other solution but war, I think this is not a right thinking. We need to cooperate, and this cooperation is important not only for India and Pakistan but for the whole region. We, at the time when we are busy in scheduling the welcome of His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, when we are, we are welcoming UAE rulers, we are trying to create an investment-friendly environment. Obviously, such incident doesn't help Pakistan. Such incidents doesn't help the region. We are, the leadership, Pakistani Prime Minister, Pakistan Army, Pakistani institutions are fully behind this peace move. And we want a peaceful relationship with India. We want a normal relationship with India. What all we want is that कि ताली दोनों हाथों से नहीं बजती है. आपको ताली में हाथ बटाना चाहिए. और अगर लड़ाई करनी है तो we are, from 7 decades we are fighting. We can continue with that. No problem with that.
Sir, I don't think you're understanding fully the full magnitude of what is at play and the response in India. This is almost as if a very chalta hai, work as usual, business as usual response coming from Pakistan. But you've said what you have. Our viewers will make what they have to. Fawad Chaudhry, INB Minister, Information Broadcasting Minister in the government of Pakistan. Thank you very much. Sharat Sabharwal is joining us. He's one of the foremost voices in India on Pakistan, has been High Commissioner to Islamabad. You just heard from the Pakistan INB Minister, the first minister we've heard from on Indian TV, saying, what's the big deal? We are willing to talk about terror. You haven't spoken to us, so hum kya kare? Tali do haath se bajti. He's completely in denial. It's almost as if he's not listening to what our Prime Minister is saying.
Well, Rahul, I didn't hear very clearly what he was saying. It was coming in bits and pieces to me. But I did get snippets of what he said, and in those snippets I didn't find anything new. I have heard that being said so often. What he was saying in essence was, don't indulge in blame game. This is a knee-jerk reaction. How do you know? This is what they have been saying, that this attack originated. And then if you give us evidence, we are willing to provide assistance. We'll carry out an investigation. All these organizations are banned, and so on and so forth. Now, let me deal with all these 2-3 points that he made. These so-called banned organizations have all continued functioning under different names. You had Lashkar-e-Taiba, which was banned, which became Jamaat-ud-Dawa, started operating as Jamaat-ud-Dawa. When that came under a ban, it became Falah-e-Insaniyat Foundation. You have other organizations. You have Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, the extreme Sunni organization, which has started functioning as Ahl-e-Sunnat wal-Jamaat. It even participated in the elections. The point is, all these organizations have the patronage of Pakistan's security establishment. They use them not only for terror against other countries, neighboring countries in India, some in Afghanistan, but they use some of them to serve their ends in the internal politics also. Look at the last election which took place when they wanted Imran Khan to win. Tehreek-e-Labaik Pakistan, which is an extreme Barelvi organization, it put up a large number of candidates, encouraged by the security establishment. And then Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Allahu Akbar Tehreek ticket, it put up a number of candidates. The idea was to cut into Nawaz's vote and ensure the victory of Imran Khan. Next we come to give us evidence. This is the standard line which has been given to us. Look, we gave all the evidence that was possible in respect of the Mumbai attack.
Absolutely.
I was personally involved in handing over some of those dossiers to Rahman Malik, the then Interior Minister, and others involved. But what happened? Hafiz Saeed was not even charged for being the mastermind of Mumbai. They say that he was acquitted by courts. Actually, he was arrested under Pakistan's Maintenance of Public Order Act, which is the equivalent of our preventive detention. And when sufficient evidence wasn't produced of any kind, the courts released him. When you don't even charge him with a crime, how can you say that the courts acquitted him of that crime? So
I want to get a reaction from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Shazia Ilmi, you were listening to Fawad Chaudhry, the INB Minister of Pakistan. In complete denial, it's almost as if those 3 warnings from the Prime Minister didn't even go into his ears.
Yes, 4 warnings and all which sound like ultimatum, and it made no difference at all to the minister representing the Pakistan government. The least I can say about the response is that it was very infuriating, and it goes on to show that not only are they living in some state of denial, but a complete la-la land. They're talking about evidence, Rahul, it's shocking. I mean, the evidence and evidence, whether it's Pathankot or David Headley or the presence of Osama bin Laden on their soil. So I really think very little can be expected. It almost seems as if the security establishment runs, and we all know that that Imran Khan is a puppet prime minister, but that they seem to be beholden to Hafiz Saeed and JEM, Masood Asar. Instead of taking any action against them, they seem to be paying homilies at this point of time when there is actual evidence and a video in circulation and a responsibility, that has been claimed by the Tanzim, so to speak. So I really think that this minister either is totally unempowered or they all are beholden to the security establishment, which obviously is involved for the longest period in this kind of
is the Indian
cross-border
army
terrorism.
assessing how to smoke out high-value targets in Pakistan and what needs to be done next. And you've got the Pak INB minister saying, "Aao baat karo, dossier do, dossier khelte hain." That's he's in that post-2611 zone. He doesn't realize that there may be no new Pakistan, no Naya Pakistan, but this is definitely a Naya India when it comes to our threshold. General Bhatia.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The terror strike has Pakistan written all over it, in bold and capital. Even a Pakistani will not believe that Pakistanis have not done it. So in a denial mode as usual. But the fact is, they're playing out they're enacting the whole thing as always they have done. That they have not done it. It's a homegrown thing. And unfortunately, some of our peaceniks, like you rightly said, are also parroting that narrative. The fact remains that Pakistan has to pay for it. They have to make sure that we have to make sure that they don't even think of doing it again. So that is where the challenge lies.
But Sushant Sareen, the INB minister seems to have no idea, or at least is not letting on, that he understands the enormity of what's coming at him and his government and his army. It's almost as if he believes that we are in a 2611 kind of zone where now for the next several months, the present day Sharad Sabharwal will be exchanging dossier with the current interior minister, and that game will go on for a while, nothing will come off it.
No, clearly the Pakistanis live in, a world of an alternate reality. But I think, Rahul, it's very important to debunk some of the ludicrous arguments which this fellow Fawad Chaudhry has made. I think it's extremely important. And I think, when he says that this incident happened 100 kilometers inside India, we should ask these fellows, how many kilometers inside Pakistan border was Peshawar which happened? How many kilometers inside Pakistan border is Karachi or Lahore where terror attacks have happened? So why don't they take responsibility for those attacks, which they are now telling us that this is your problem? Secondly, this business of there are so many Jaish-e-Mohammeds, then it's the job of the Pakistani government to get rid of each one of those organizations. And this is the typical kind of dissemble which these fellows use, the kind of deception and absolute third-rate low cunning which they use to make their argument. But let us take his argument at face value. When he talks about organizations, if a British origin fellow goes to Syria because he's indoctrinated from there, should the British hold the Syrian government or that particular part of Syria responsible, or should it hold itself responsible? Sure, there is a problem within Britain, but there is also the bigger problem which is outside Britain. Similarly, there might be a problem in Kashmir, but there's a bigger problem in Pakistan, and the Pakistanis cannot absolve themselves of the presence of these kind of groups out there. Third, comparing the sorts of operations, he talks about what the Indian Army has been doing. The Indian Army has been fighting with its arm tied behind its back. Perhaps we should take a lesson from the Pakistanis, and we should carry the kind of scorched earth operations which the Pakistanis have carried in their own territory and kept reconquering their own country.
I just want to show our viewers this report put together by the India Today investigation team using open source intelligence techniques, using satellite imagery. What you're about to see is put together by my colleague Ankit Kumar. I want to just show this. One second. So this is important because you've just heard from the Pak INB minister. Now take a look, and all of this is publicly available satellite information, images appearing in the Pakistan media. We've compiled them, we've consolidated them. Take a look at this report which shows you how Bhavalpur is expanding, and the one Achhe Din that has come in Naya Pakistan is for the Jaish-e-Mohammed and for its mastermind Maulana Masood Azhar. Ankit Kumar from the India Today investigation team, using open source techniques, files this exclusive story.
Where once lived global terrorist Osama bin Laden, behind the walls of a private compound in this mountainous military garrison of Abbottabad. The real author of Pulwama terror strike, Masood Azhar, is enjoying similar comfort and protection. Our open source intelligence team has pinpointed the Jaish den in Bahawalpur, the 12th largest city of Pakistan Punjab province. Masood Azhar's headquarters is minutes away from the army cantonment. Take a look at this mosque on Bahawalpur's outskirts, just off National Highway 5. It's more than just a house of worship. Our investigation found the Jamia Masjid Subhanallah is precisely the center where Masood Azhar operates from. Once a basic structure, the mosque was rebuilt less than a decade ago. And this is where India's most wanted terrorist Masood Azhar lives now. But it's not a civilian neighborhood. Our open source intelligence teams spotted this F-6 fighter plane on public display. Location, a roundabout called Sarai Ki Chowk. Subhanallah Mosque is barely a kilometer away. Inside is the Jaish headquarters called the Jamia Subhanallah. The terror sanctuary is just 8 kilometers from Bahawalpur cantonment. And this is where Pakistan's 31 Corps is headquartered. An army unit of 30,000 troops. Some reports suggest the zone even has a secret nuclear facility disguised as a nuclear oncology institute. 8 years ago, this is how Jaish-e-Mohammed raised funds for building the mosque complex. Back then, Al Rahmat Trust, a Jaish front, put out advertisements to solicit donations for the Subhanallah Mosque. Around the same time, this is what Imran Khan pledged. The Tehreek-e-Insaf chief promised to root out terror.
आपको कहना ये चाहिए कि पाकिस्तानी गवर्नमेंट को हम सारे सबूत देंगे, जो भी हमारे पास सबूत हैं, और जो नया पाकिस्तान बनेगा आप कहेंगे हम वहां जाके केस लड़ेंगे सबूत देके अदालत में, और हम कन्विक्ट करवाएंगे उसको.
But the world found Imran Khan on an unnerving crease after he took over as Pakistan's Prime Minister. Masood Azhar was heard issuing an appeal to the new Prime Minister to let jihadis strike India harder.
हुकूमत पाकिस्तान को चाहिए कि सिर्फ 6 माह के लिए कश्मीरी मुजाहिदीन के रास्ते की रुकावटें हटा ले. इंडिया को उसकी हर धमकी का पूरा जवाब मिल जाएगा इंशाअल्लाह.
And in less than 6 months, he did strike Pulwama. What more evidence of state patronage of terror than this under Imran Khan's Pakistan? With Ankit Kumar and Balakrishna, Bureau Report, India Today.
Satellite images from inside Pakistan show how Jaish-e-Mohammed is in fact flourishing. He helped out candidate Imran Khan, now reaping the dividends. The Pakistan INB minister, of course, as has been the case in the past, in complete denial. General Bhatia, Shazia Ilmi, Sushant Sareen, General Atta Hasnain, for joining us on this broadcast. Thank you very much. Our coverage is non-stop. Our coverage is relentless. The Indian Armed Forces working non-stop, devising ways and means of how Pakistan needs to be taught a lesson. We are reporting very closely on this story, every twist and turn, all key newsmakers, all key developments breaking here first on India Today. Thank you for tuning in. More on the other side.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.